A few years ago, there was a 5-star recruit who was also a McDonald's All-American that was regarded as one of the best big men in high school basketball. He had a ton of hype and most people thought he was going to be a one and done and a for sure lottery pick in the NBA draft. He was a safe bet too because he was listed at 6'10" and 230 pounds when he was in high school. He already had the size and the skill set of a power forward at the NBA level. But however, with that being said, ever since high school, this guy literally disappeared. So what happened to him and where's he today? We're gonna dive straight into his story, but first we're on the road to 100K, so if you're loving the content, what are you doing? Join the family, hit that subscribe button, leave a like for more, and without further ado, let's dive straight into the story. This is one of the saddest stories we'll ever cover on this channel because most of it wasn't even his fault. And like usual, you already know, to get into his story, we gotta throw it all the way back to where things started. Meet Billy Preston. This is the 5-star recruit that's supposed to currently be playing in the NBA, but isn't. Born on October 26th of 1997, he was always much bigger than his competition and he was a man-child out there. His story growing up and his story even in high school is fairly simple. He was a natural-born athlete, he was very athletic, and he worked hard at every sport he played. He did, however, have a hard time finding a solid and good high school to stay at because he spent a lot of time at different schools. He first attended and started out at St. John Bosco High School in Bellflower, California. He also had a brief stint at Redondo Union High School in Redondo Beach, California. Then, if that wasn't enough, he also played at Prime Prep in Dallas, Texas. After playing for a couple of high schools where he didn't find a great fit, he ultimately found the best fit possible, and in 2016, he transferred to Oak Hill Academy. He was always a really good player, but at Oak Hill, this is when his talent got put out to the nation and all the college coaches got to see what he could really do. For his senior season at Oak Hill, he put up impressive numbers, averaging right at 15 points per game and 9 rebounds. Those don't sound like crazy numbers, but you gotta keep in mind, when you play at a great school like that, you gotta share the stat load. Almost every player on that team is going to play D1 basketball, so not everybody's going to put up crazy stats. One thing to note too, in high school, he had a 93 overall grade on ESPN, was a 5-star recruit, and ranked 18th overall in the country. Like I stated earlier in this video, he was also named to the McDonald's All-American game and the Jordan Brand Classic game. During his senior year, and at this point in time in our story, people were already talking about how high he would be drafted in the up-and-coming draft after he went to college. The reason for that is because you don't see a lot of 6'10" skilled athletic big men. They're a dime a dozen, so when NBA scouts and NBA teams see a player like Billy Preston, they try to jump on him quick. His recruitment process was also very simple. He wound up deciding to sign with the University of Kansas. Things really couldn't have got much better for Preston because all he had to do was play at Kansas for 1 year, and even if he had a bad season, he was going to be a first rounder. But now, this is when our story takes one of the strangest, and even till this day, one of the most bizarre turns in history. Going into the season for Kansas, in the preseason poll, they was ranked at number 4. A main reason for that was because they had a top 10 recruiting class that included Billy Preston, and everybody was so high on this kid. He wasn't just really big, he also had a knockdown mid-range jumper, and he could even make 3-pointers. One thing a lot of people don't give him enough credit for was his assists because he could also pass the ball and dribble it here and there. On defense, he really helped out too because obviously he's 6'10" and athletic. He was a blocking machine. Before the season officially started, some colleges have exhibition games, and this is where Preston played 3 games. In just those 3 games, he scored 33 points, was 14 for 16 from the field, had 11 rebounds, and only played in 46 minutes. He only missed 2 out of 16 shots and scored over 30 points in 3 games. That's not too shabby, and that's really great. He was already on track to be not just one of the best players on this team, but one of the best players in the nation. With that being said, this is where things take a turn for the worst. On November 8th in 2017, this is when Preston's life would change forever. He was driving his car through the campus and hit a curb, and the accident resulted in a minor tire damage to his car. There was no property damage, no injuries, and no other person involved. But for some odd reason, someone reported it to the police, so they had to file a the report. There was minor damage to the car, but the athletic department wanted a quote-unquote clearer financial picture. If you don't know what that means, basically the NCAA launched an investigation on the car because they didn't believe he could afford it and they were questioning how he got it. It was reported at the time that the car was worth upwards to $30,000 to $35,000. And if you don't know what that means, basically they were saying they didn't believe it was his and he couldn't afford it, and Kansas or someone in the department gave him or funded him the rights to that car. So with this investigation going on, he wasn't able to play and he had to sit out almost the entire season. Obviously, this is very frustrating because he was supposed to be a one and done. But as the time ticked, day after day after day, and then week after week, and months went by and nothing happened. It was the NCAA being the NCAA. They wasn't acting on it very quick. According to Kansas and the NCAA, it wasn't on their hands, but they put it to the FBI, and the FBI was doing their own investigation. Therefore, it had to go through the court system, and that's why it was taking so long. If you was in the shoes that Billy Preston was in, you'd be kind of upset about this and you'd want to speed it up. And when I say this hurt, I mean this really hurt his draft stock. He just continued to go down. It wasn't because of the NCAA investigation. He was going down because he wasn't playing. And when you're not playing, you can't put out nothing on paper, so these teams don't know how good you are. After a couple of months, he got tired of it, and here's what he posted on Twitter. My family and I have decided that it is in my best interest to sign with a team out of the Bosnia League. We have fully cooperated with the NCAA and we're prepared to continue, but it has been 67 days since this process began and still no end in sight. Playing at the University of Kansas was a dream of mine, but being a professional has always been my long-term goal. That day is finally here. I look forward to joining my new team and preparing myself for whatever my future holds. I appreciate the support from Coach Self, Coach Townsend, and the entire staff and fan base at KU. You will always hold a special place in my heart. Rock Chalk BP. He said it perfectly. 67 days went by and they still wasn't even close to resolving all of this. I don't want to say what he did was wrong, but I feel like he didn't have no choice at the same time. The NCAA wasn't going to allow him to play, so why would he just continue to sit there? What's even crazier about all of this, to think it wouldn't have even happened if he wouldn't have hit that curb. It was official though on January 20th in 2018, he signed for that Bosnian team. But it didn't go quite exactly like he'd hope it would. Only 9 days after he tweeted that, he made his debut and scored 2 points in 6 minutes of action. Then, after just 3 games, he left the team due to quote-unquote shoulder soreness and declared for the 2018 NBA draft. He, like many others, thought when he was going into Kansas, he was going to be a first rounder for sure and maybe even a lottery pick. But after this happened, he now dropped to late first round and may not even get drafted in the second round. Even though that doesn't sound that great, there was still a lot of hope that he would get drafted because this dude was a stud at the high school level. He did get an invite to the NBA draft combine in Chicago, but his name was not called on draft night, so he went undrafted. You know his story is not going to end that easy though. He wound up signing with the Cleveland Cavaliers and played on their summer league team. He was really impressive in that summer league, and that earned him a 2-way contract, and he split time between the Cavs and their G League team. But really shortly after, he was waived on December 2nd in 2018 because he didn't play for the Cavs any. Since his brief stint with the Cleveland Cavaliers, his career has been all over the place, and he spent some of it in what I like to call the G League death spiral. If you don't know what that is or how I refer to it on this channel, basically I feel like when a player gets in that G League and they can't get out, it's just a downhill slope. And that's what it was like for him in early 2018 and 19 and even in 20. After he got waived by the Cavs, he was acquired by the Atlanta Hawks G League team. Then in February of 2019, he was traded to the Dallas Mavericks G League team. I feel like he's a really smart guy and he's not blind to the fact that if you stay in that G League, you're not going to get out of it. So after playing for the Mavericks, he wound up leaving the G League entirely and played for an overseas team. And for the season of 2019 through 20, he played for the Illawarra Hawks, I hope I said that right, in the National Basketball League, which is also the team that LaMelo Ball played for. You're probably thinking, well, that probably went better for him, but it didn't. He was released only after 3 games. And ever since he got waived by the Australia team in 2019 through 20, no one's heard anything out of this guy. I tried doing a ton of research on him on Twitter, on Instagram, and I don't even think he has a Twitter or Instagram that that I could find. So as to what he's doing, I can only assume that he's still trying to fight and find a way to play basketball professionally. But I can say with some confidence that if he is, there's nothing much coming out of it. Every professional team he's played for so far, he's struggled to even be on the roster for more than a month. What's really curious and crazy about all this is that he can arguably be classified as the biggest what if in basketball history. What if he would have never gotten that car accident? What if he got in that accident and nobody reported it? And what if the NCAA would have made their ruling quicker and not waited so long? How I look at it is you can't blame him for leaving Kansas because they weren't going to let him play, but maybe, and it seems like that was still the wrong decision. He wanted to play at Kansas, but he wasn't able to, so it's a hard and tough decision. Let me know what you would have done down below. Before the accident, he was projected as a lottery pick in the NBA, and now he's having big trouble trying to even stay on a team. It's super surreal to think about this, but that one day changed his life and the complex of his life completely. His life changed because all he did was hit a curb and had a minor accident. This was an interesting story. I had a lot of fun researching this and making this video. Let me know in the comment section what you think about all of this. I hope you guys enjoyed, and with all that being said, that's gonna wrap up this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys learned something. If you're new to the channel, what are you doing? Join the family. We're on the road to 100K, and as always, let's be great. I'm out, y'all. Peace.